Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Sergeant Cassandra Scapinello. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Tetsuro Kuroe, former Administrative Vice Minister of Defence Japan, Chairperson of Sasagawa Peace Foundation's project on security strategy studies, and the accompanying delegation. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Sacred Heart School visiting from Fitzroy in Victoria. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Students and visitors who are able to be seated, you may now sit. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Alfred Nelson. Alfred was born on the 26th of December in 1890 in Glasgow, Scotland. He was the youngest of 4 sons born to Robert and Jane Nelson between 1880 and 1890, though their firstborn son died as an infant. The family lived in Glasgow throughout Alfred's childhood. Alfred attended Glasgow High School and then enrolled in Glasgow University to study engineering. In 1910, whilst Alfred was studying, his older brother Hugh drowned. After finishing university, Alfred trained for 2 years with the Glasgow Fairfield Engineering Company. Alfred left his family in Scotland and immigrated to Australia in 1912. He celebrated his 22nd birthday at sea and arrived in Melbourne on the 29th of January 1913 and found work as a labourer. Nelson enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 12th of October 1914. He was assigned to the 15th Australian Infantry Battalion in the rank of private. After 2 months of training, Nelson left Australia on the 22nd of December 1914 in HMAT Ceramic, bound for Egypt. Nelson arrived in Egypt in early 1915 and soon left to join the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force on the Greek islands of Lemnos, where he was preparing for the April landings on the Gallipoli Peninsula. He landed with the 15th Battalion at Anzac Cove late in the afternoon of the 25th of April 1915 and was immediately involved in establishing and defending the front line on the Anzac beachhead. During further fighting on the 2nd of May, Nelson was wounded on the left side of his head. He was evacuated to Egypt for treatment and was admitted to number 17 General Hospital on the 6th of May 1915. Nelson rejoined the 15th Battalion on the Gallipoli Peninsula on the 26th of May, where they were involved with the frontline defence of the Anzac position. He spent the next 2 months between the front line and in the reserve. By late July, the battalion were in bivouacs in the reserve gully, preparing for the planned offensive at the beginning of August. From May, the British and Ottoman forces had largely been locked in a stalemate. The August offensive was intended to break through the Ottoman lines and enable the British forces to push across the peninsula and capture in Constantinople. As part of the August offensive, the 15th Battalion was ordered to assist in the capture of Hill 971 on the Sari Bar Ridge. On the night of the 16th of August, the attack on Hill 971 commenced. The 15th Battalion started their approach at 10:25 p.m. The difficult terrain made the advance slow, and by dawn on the 7th of August, the battalion was well short of the objective. The final assault of summit of Hill 971 was attempted on the 8th of August, but it was exposed to heavy machine gun fire. Although some ground was gained, the arrival of the Ottoman forces forced the 4th Brigade to withdraw. The attempted advance was costly for the 15th Brigade, which incurred 417 casualties over 48 hours. One of them was Private Alfred Nelson, who was captured by the Ottomans and made a prisoner of war. He was held at Constantinople before being transferred to Belmedic to work on the Baghdad to Berlin railway. By mid-1916, he was interned at Angora, and in November, he was hospitalised in Angora and reported to be suffering from enteritis. Private Alfred Nelson succumbed to his illness on the 28th of November 1916. He was 26 years old. Nelson was initially buried at the Catholic cemetery in Angora. After the war, efforts were made to consolidate the graves of the Australian prisoners of war across the Ottoman Empire. Nelson's remains were exhumed and re-entered at the Baghdad North Gate War ceremony in Iraq. His grave bears the inscription selected by his parents, "We will meet again." His name is also listed on the honour roll on my right, amongst 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Alfred Nelson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, I now invite you to please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow old. They shall grow not old, for we that are left behind grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.